Looks like some folks are still joining the session, and that's great. Welcome, everyone. This is the 1140 session on building Sakaigers, students as QA teams, presented by Dee Dee Huracan from Marist College. Dee Dee is the Senior Academic Technology Support Specialist at Marist, and in this role, she supports the college-wide use of well, wait a minute, I'm not reading the right bio. Dee Dee supports the college-wide use of the Sakai Learning Management System along with technology that fosters innovation, teaching, and learning. She supervises 18 international graduate and undergraduate students in Sakai's use and testing within multiple environments and versions. That's no small task. She has a Bachelor of Science in Integrative Studies from Marist, focusing on computing and communication, and is currently pursuing her master's in Integrated Marketing and Communication. So awesome. And we're delighted to welcome you, Dee Dee, and thank you. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Building Sakaigers. Students as QA teams, they're pretty good. So at any institution, QA resources are always at a premium, and they're always in a short supply. We use student staff at Information Technology at Marist College to build quality assurance testing teams for Sakai and beyond. In the open source community, software quality assurance testing is always needed, yet few institutions have the resources to devote to this. In this session, I'll show you how we use our student staff. They're used to perform testing, contribute to a successful software implementation for our institution, and then be a sustainable, cost-effective model for the open source community. So, question, why do we use students? Well, first, we're an educational institution. One of our goals is to create 21st century global leaders. The Information Technology Department offers this world experience, skills, and they translate into real-world jobs. Due to visa restrictions, our international graduate students cannot work off campus. This limitation forces skilled computer science majors to work in the cafeteria or other places where they cannot hone their skills. So, and also, they cost less than permanent full-time staff, so there's a savings. And another benefit is they may stay in the open source community after they graduate. Finally, the additional experience they gain in our department connects them to the institution, not only as students and alumni, but the students who graduated 6 years ago stop by and visit me on a regular basis just to say hi, show off their alma mater to their families, or to state that they're getting married or something fun like that. So, our students. Who are our students? Well, in the past, I usually had between 5 and 7 students focused on QA throughout the year. That is the model currently when we're not going through an upgrade season. And at the moment, I currently have 18, possibly soon to be 19 students who will be focused not only on QA, but other projects that we have throughout the office. Many of our international graduate students are taking their School of Computer Science and Math, and their length of stay for a graduate student is about 18 months at the college, 18 to 24 months. That does give you, compared to undergrads, a shorter window, but it is a decent amount of time. So in recent years, we've increased our numbers of students of undergrads in order to keep an overlap of students who have knowledge. It assists with our cross-training and keeping the department knowledge as long as possible. There's some benefits. Undergrads leave in the summer. Graduate students stay all summer at 40 hours a week. This is very helpful when we're planning for our summer upgrades. It's when we need the most help with our local testing, as well as for the community. Some may have already been, these students may have already been employed in the real world. So they've worked for companies that are international from their home countries that they're originally from, doing QA testing, or at least working in the computer sciences to be able to do and learn what we're going to be doing here at our office for implementation of doing QA. And finally, as international students, we get to share their culture, and they get to share ours. Onboarding students. We begin the process at the interview. Give special attention to students who already have real-world experience or an interest in QA and customer support. This benefits us locally as basic skill sets may have already been taught, such as how to appropriately answer the phone or convey messages or basic office skills. Then we also look for personality and drive. We hire people for their personality, as most of the skills they need, they can be taught. Once hired, we begin the onboarding process. This includes training on our institution's version of Sakai, which we call iLearn. So you'll see that throughout the presentation. We give access to our ticketing system, and that's internal for our IT department. We use Trello boards and Slack, and of course, the students sign up for the Slack, the Sakai community. We have team leads, and then they partner with our new students to walk them through the proper use of each of these tools. The Sakai 11 QA Hub smoothed out some of the confusion we found in earlier versions, and I'll speak a little bit more on this later. And then our team leads partner with the new students and walk them through all of these steps. So they're rather important. We usually get team leads after their first 6 to 8 months, and you can see those students who immediately take a leadership position, and those are the ones we give the promotion to. Challenges. There are some challenges. Many of our graduate students are from India. Now, I visited there, and I found that everything took longer than expected, approximately 2 hours longer than expected. Now, recognizing that someone comes from a less punctual culture, and we hire students here recognizing that they come from this less punctual culture, we make a real large effort to address these challenges and address them. So the way we address those is we have a time clock. This is a punch-in, punch-out system. Our tool is homegrown, and it allows for many of the students within information technology to use it. There's some free ones available, but I haven't located one that can handle more than a few students at a time at a minimum. We have, I think, 100 students. Our students are also offered the option to create their own schedules. This also allows for accountability because the students did their own schedule. And they've agreed by saying so that they will then meet that goal.
Hey, Dee Dee. I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. I was wondering if you could speak a little louder, and I also could not turn off your webcam, so I don't know if you want to do that. But
okay, so I probably look funny while you're all looking at me. That's okay. I hope y'all don't mind. I'm sitting here thinking out loud while I'm talking to the camera.
You're doing great.
Better? Can you hear me better?
Yeah, just keep projecting. Thanks.
All right, no problem. So some of the other challenges that we run into is the location of the students. Our locations, we have a lab. We have a secondary smaller lab, or it did at the time. We have our help desk with which we partner quite often. And our students will go there, and there's evening shifts for that. And there's a raised floor area for answering the phones, and again, partnering with the help desk to make sure that they understand how to support the iLearn system. Because again, with the skills of a QA, we're able to answer the questions that the help desk will not. Our current area here, which by the way is where I'm actually sitting, can house 16 students. But it is also our faculty training area. The webinar is currently going on in that section right now. So all of our students can't sit there. You can't invite anyone in. There's then no space. So some of the things we do is we get loaner laptops to do QA sessions. We ask sometimes the students to bring their own because they may have equipment that we don't have here. We have assigned laptops. So if we need a Mac and no one else in the office happens to have a Mac, one student will bring it in. We'll do testing on that. We also disperse those throughout the labs and the common areas of the building, such as the library. Challenges that you can encounter, one of them would be my largest, I would say, is communication. We've been using Slack as our communication tool. I love Slack. Having those private conversations with those people who are late or need special attention for a question, that's awesome. We also use it for phone messages. So I'm out of the office, someone called, they needed to be responded to, they're just putting it in a Slack message. Late notifications, lunch, office questions, and of course concerns regarding QA. Question will come in, and I'll say, well, did you go on a Perio on the QA channel and ask someone, did they see the same issue? We use the iLearn messages tool, which is again, iLearn is our version of Sakai. We have a website, a web student site built in there, and they'll use the messages tool to state, when they're taking planned outages, schedule time off. This also helps me to be able to go back and track those kinds of absences. Now, our student training. This again begins on our local instance of Sakai. As you can see from the screenshot, the colors and such. This is a screenshot from prior to 11, so I'm sorry I didn't update this. It's much more beautiful now. But this includes this sandbox site, is where the students and the instructors can follow along on the best practice guide. For the institution, the student site contains all the written documentation that contains JIRA processes, procedures for the office, including a student manual, office training, office expectations, information about payroll and the time clock and the calendar, specific test cases, things that we've run into before that we saw problem on during our last upgrade that we want to follow up on our next. We track the training progress using Trello. Our Trello boards have check boxes of completion, that you understood the security manual or you understood the process of testing. It shows the date and time that the student finally felt comfortable with using each of those tools or processes. We also train the faculty on the latest versions of Sakai. So the students often are trainees in attendance. They'll be standing by to assist the faculty. They receive the same training as the faculty as well during those training sessions. So it's a good round robin of information. Finally, our students participate in what's called iTeam. This is a just-in-time training for faculty. For about an hour a week to the building with all the faculty within that building on a daily basis. And we give them face-to-face training with 15-minute increments. Knock on the door, see how they're doing. Hi, do you have any questions about iLearn? And if the faculty member says yes, okay, and you give them an answer to one of their questions. Give them a paper.
Hey, Dee Dee?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, it's still, your voice is very soft and difficult to hear. So I'm not sure how you can project a little more, maybe. I don't think there's much you can do about your mic, but it's if you can just really concentrate on projecting your voice, that might help.
That any better?
Not really. Not sure why.
Any better?
That's much better.
Talking really loudly now. Okay.
Yeah. That does help. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. I'm sorry if anyone did not hear me. So our iTeam is our weekly basis. We go out and help the faculty. We train them on these interactions that are about 15 minutes. This includes a printed reminder of the upcoming faculty training sessions, a survey, and a candy bar. And then these are recorded in the ticket tracking system for our review later on. We offer documentation. There are two types of documentation. The first is an office process, the procedures documentation, basic how-to documentation that the students must read and understand. Second is our training documentation. The students create and update this training document while they're being trained. So, for example, a team lead will walk in, start new student through a task using the existing documentation. If the new student, is unable to complete that task using the existing documentation, they get to rewrite it with the trainee or the trainer watching over them to make sure that they are rewriting the information should be. So that updates the documentation, and that allows the new student to understand what they're being trained on because they're actually writing the documentation during. It effectively uses the training time because the office has limited staff to having the student peer train and create the documentation at the same time is the only model we could find to do. Sound still good?
You need to really concentrate on just shout it out. Sorry, I have a quick. Yeah, seriously, that is so much better. I have a quick question. I'm just curious. What is your ratio of trainers to students?
We have 3 team leads to 7 students, and those are student team leads. In our office, we have, as far as staff goes, our office has several people from this virtual conference, Lily, Corey, and myself, to work together with the students. And then we have an additional group of students who are doing web and web-based projects. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yes, thank you so much.
Excellent.
Keep yelling.
I'm trying.
Okay.
We use Trello for our local upgrade, and this handles. We use a Trello board, and I will show it to you after we're done presenting because I'm a little afraid technology-wise that I might lose the presentation and looking at. So for our upgrade, we use Trello. In the past, we moved cards between developers boards, where we make 2 boards, and a support board. Now, these would allow for the assignments of an issue for testing, allow for everyone to see the status of that particular item being tested. It labels and shows what type of tests need to be reviewed. And then in the past, we participated in the Sakai Docs working group. That was very helpful because the students were able to review that help documentation as well. They were instrumental. The students are instrumental in creating our internal support help documents, such as help guides and videos. And then Trello helps us figure out which of these documents need to be updated or recreated or created at all. Also, the students cross-train other IT students to help create and share that support document. Now, Sakai 11 QA Hub is something I wanted to talk to you about earlier. This has been instrumental in onboarding our new students. This began after the Sakai camp last January, and it was an outcome of it. And I absolutely adore this page because it really allowed me to onboard students into QA in a much more fashion. We began by using testing, using the existing community test cases, and we followed the existing community scripts. Some of these were out of date, so the discrepancy of what was an expected outcome from a tool became a teachable moment for the test case creation. So for understanding the pass-fail and what can be done about it, and bug tracking and reporting, all of these became teachable moments from why isn't this working? We can't recreate it as a test. Let's see what we actually have to do to make an outcome like that. For example, how to make a test case or an exam in Migo do something particular and something be as a multiple choice question. You're expecting that one of those answers will be correct. Okay, that's a pass or fail. Let's just say no one had ever written down the instructions for that. the new student would go through these exams, notice that that's missing, start writing them, and that was a way for us to update those test scores. So our students were also encouraged to participate in the weekly test fests that were offered. A student would create a JIRA. It needed clarity from our team, but the student was actually then on the call on those weekly calls and could then get an answer to the question immediately from other people in the community. This made them feel fully part of the community and part of the process. This created ownership, accountability, and it really brought home that this is a community that they can join and stay in. Now the challenge here is letting the student know that it's okay to participate. It is okay to ask questions. And again, these are teachable moments. Communication is key here. We have Slack team for our students, the channel for testing, and all the questions, ideas, and random thoughts that we have are shared there. All of these teams are inclusive. The students did get to feel a part of those teams. When preparing for this presentation, I asked my team, my students, for their input. They came up with some ideas they'd like to share, that students cross-train each other and they create support departments. So they've actually singled themselves out into small groups for certain support that they do very well. They use the software regularly. They participate in iTeams. They hear what the end user is saying about the software. They have more face-to-face interaction than the staff does with the faculty, as far as those one-off moments where someone complains. They can share any UX responses because they're there watching them use the software when they state they had an issue. So and they can we need to find a better way to track that particular item, but we do see it and can use it. And at one point, my students request that we all have automated QA. Finally, as you can see from this photograph here, that's Jeff Ash from NYU. He came up to visit and talk a little bit about the testing with our students. That kind of community, that kind of saying, hey, this really isn't just what you're doing for your job while you're going to college. Well, I think we'll keep them in the community probably for a very, very long time. Building upon this work, students are such incredible workers. It's easy to forget that they are halfway around the globe from their home. Building upon this friendship, this is what affords us the great relationship to work together and I admire these people tremendously. I'm sure many of you in the community have seen their names and seen them on calls. They're just phenomenal. Here, let me share with you this. This is John H. This is what QA teams provide. These instructor technical questions. We get this kind of feedback all the time. As an organization, you guys provide us with soft and technical skills to be successful in the workplace. I'm doing testing now as a systems integration engineer. What I learned here in academic technology has helped me adapt very quickly to the challenging environment of Lockheed. Tom was an undergrad, and he had this great job. And we get letters like this often stating that the items and the testing and the training that we've done here is something that gives them those real-world experiences. And Cody also said that he got a job working at Thomson Reuters. He got to even go to England for 1 to 2 weeks. His experience in doing iTeam projects that actually was that. And iTeam, again, is going out in the where I learned the Sakai problem. So he just was really grateful. And I did run into him after he had written this. I ran into him personally, and he has this fantastic job, all thanks to what we do here. So I guess in the end, we're institutions of higher education. The students take from this experience all the tools, processes, procedures, customer service, technical skills that we have shared here. They're better employees for what they learn from us. And our hope is they'll always feel a part of this community. It's open. I'd like to show you what the Trello board looks like. So bear with me 1 second while I change the slide. No, my desktop is there now.
While you're doing that, Dee Dee, I'll just take a moment to remind you again, and I'm really sorry that the sound is so soft, but just keep yelling.
I'm yelling as much as I can.
All right, thanks.
Can you see the Trello board?
Yeah, man, that looks amazing. Can you walk us through it?
Absolutely. First thing we do is let them know how to use the board. So the board contains instructions um, and labels. So the first thing is how to use the tools, what's in progress, issues, and completed. Um, and it explains in detail where each of these fall on each of the columns of information. There's a how to use this testing board and a list of members. It should be everybody in the team. A label that says what kind of problem is it. So this way we can filter the board by those kinds of problems. For example, if we see a known issue, we can look at all the known issues on the board and say, you know, we already know about that. We've already addressed that. That problem has been taken care of. Or for example, a new feature or Morpheus or new tools. For example, something we were on version 294. So change in lessons was massive, you know, between Maletti to what we had for lessons to really having lessons in 11. That new tool needed extensive testing here in our environment as well as in the community, but in our environment before we did our upgrade. So being able to find what issues were wrong with anything that was brand new and may have needed documentation was very important. JIRAs, if we created a JIRA and we wanted to follow up on it, this would be one of the ways with which we did so. Any known issues or persistent issues, and then of course retest again on upgrade day, and that would be based on other issues as well, not just QA, but our integrations with other software that's such as Turnitin, or integrations for email because we wouldn't be able to test that ahead of time, or roster association. We made with lists of tools that had to be tested, and when we needed to test them by, some could be done beforehand. Then we had what was in progress, who was responsible for it. So for example, our login page, who's going to be taking care of what during that time. Any issues and bugs that we had, those that have JIRAs associated with them, and those that were resolved. Now, it was literally just a drag and drop. So for example, we would just move it over here and say that it's done. Or we would, here I'll show you on this particular item. We had it as a new feature. We found there was a JIRA. We made it a high priority, when it had to be due, and the steps to recreate. So basically we're making a JIRA twice, but we were able to then test it. Which versions of it did we have problems on it? Here's the steps we took to fix it. We'd add comments. We integrated this with Slack. And also here's the link to the original JIRA so we could keep an eye on it. Pictures are really nice to have in there as well. Finally, over here at the end, we would place issues in on another board. I would just right click it and choose another board, excuse me. I would move this over to a different board that was actually meant for just those people who are doing development in our office, to be able to review and see if the problem was ours here, or if it was something existing in the community, and for them to resolve it, send it back to us, put it back on this board, and we would test it again to be sure that it was ready for prime time. And at the end, we had a really good upgrade.
Dee Dee, this is so cool. I'm just curious, do you use a paid version of Trello, or are you using the free version?
This is the free version of Trello. It's also the free version of Slack. Like many
Great.
institutions, you don't get a budget for doing
Right.
these things. I did find a quick because Trello is I use it often and I share it out. I also teach, so I share it out in my classroom so I can include that in a training. So I get a slightly better version, I guess, where I can connect it. I'm allowed one connection from a Trello board to something else, and I chose to connect it to our Slack channel. So this way,
Yeah, right.
we do a lot of testing back and forth, and those are the tools that are to be tested. So you can't, so no one can come in the office and say they don't know what's going on.
Right. Which is so great. And I love Slack too. I'm so glad that Sakai community adopted Slack. It's a great way to just have ongoing conversations while you're working through stuff. So it's super. Fawe comments that it looks like a nice tool that he'd like to explore. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Trello too. I use it a lot for my own projects as well. But this is an interesting way of using it for the QA testing that I really like, and I bet I bet your students love it. How have they
enjoy it? I like it most to be able to filter. Filtering the cards is very helpful. Things like prep for go live. What's left on prep for go live, and where is it sitting? Is it in testing? Is it in progress? Is it done, or is there a JIRA created? Being able to filter by those kinds of items is really, really helpful.
Yeah. Alexander comments that it looks awesome and wonders, do you think we can do something similar with what you made with Trello in JIRA? Could JIRA be used in a similar way?
I think it can. I think there's even some portions of it. I'm not a expert on JIRA, and I really wanted simplicity because our students have already done all the work they could possibly do in the community.
Right.
Having to redo it in our institution for another 5 to 6 weeks full time before we did the upgrade over the summer, we couldn't make it as onerous as doing tickets in JIRA. We had to make it easier to and
a lower threshold for
lower threshold of pain because you're already going to be doing it over and over again. Honestly, I'm amazed at how terrific these.
Yeah.
Anything I can do to smooth the way.
Right. I mean, so I'm just following some of the chat in the here. Folks think that there is a feature in JIRA called Kanban boards that provide a similar functionality of showing, kind of the stages that things are in, whether they're in progress or completed, and so forth, and who's working on them. So that's nice for the JIRA experts, right?
Well, I did see the Kanban boards, but I thought they were by project, and I thought the project was just too massive for us to do our little testing again. Yeah.
Right. Anirudh comments that he likes the calendar integration that they have with Trello. It helps them to keep track of their deadlines. So I agree. That is a really nice feature. And it's so great that it's a free tool. So it means that you can just open it up and start using it, and it's so flexible.
Being able to label things quickly and one-off labels so you don't lose items. I love that.
Yeah.
And you don't need to really be trained on using Trello. It's a one-pager of what you have to do.
Pretty intuitive.
Yeah.
I love it. But this is a great use of it, and I'm so delighted that you shared this with us. I think just seeing it, how it works, it really helps, kind of gel it in my mind of how useful it could be for this type of managing the QA testing with a group of people. That's pretty amazing. And I'm guessing, do you get much feedback from your students about it? In terms, do they find it easy to use, and do they use it? Do they start using it for other things then?
I actually haven't asked them if they're using it for other things. I probably could get up and find out. They're in the other room.
Oh.
But I think they're watching this presentation.
Gotcha.
But I do know that we're using it for other portions of our office work. So
Mm-hmm.
we have one that's called the calendar, and any task that we're doing at all is thrown on it, and it's given, instead of doing labels that are like these here, with existing tools and features as relates to QA. Instead, we're using it for the weight of how much time you think that task is going to take you. So example, the labels are like 1, 3, 7, 11. I think they're like a Fibonacci scale of how long it's going to take you to get that task done. So 21 is a month, and this is going to take me forever, Dee Dee. And
Right.
1 is I'll be done with this after lunch. So the student makes that decision based on that task, and that's
Mm-hmm.
used to keep track of, because there's 3 major projects going on. So it's
Right.
actually, and the main reason for it is the calendar, so we can see deadlines and which student's working on what. If one person is on a red, 21, we don't expect to see them anything else on that calendar until the end of the month. Whereas the
Can you
person
show us what the calendar looks like?
sure, give me 1 second. Looks like this.
Oh, okay.
What they're working on, and then you go to the calendar to really see if they're working on for it to display. There you go. It's display. So you
Oh,
can see
okay.
it, but
In the
doing
whites.
that, going back and forth
I see
between
that.
the. So it lets us know who's doing what. So a red means it's going to take quite a lot of time. A green is I'm out of here by the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another way of managing without stopping people from doing their actual tasks.
Right.
Best way.
Fawway wonders, whenever you introduce a tool, a question is often asked about data protection, and would you be able to share your view?
I'm not quite sure what you mean.
So, do you have any, is there anything going on in any of these boards that you would have concerns about protecting any of the information in there?
Well, some of it is, that's why I did a glance on that. But most of the stuff that we're working on, if there's anything, if it's Sakai Community QA work, that information is freely available to the community as well as to the
True.
students and who's ever working on it.
Right.
Thing that's going on internal to our offices as far as tasks for other projects that are being asked for by our department heads.
Mm-hmm.
Those are actually shared, and part of our onboarding and removal process of students is to kick them off all the boards that they don't actually anymore. We do a long
Right.
check. The minute somebody gets an access to track.
Right. And I know you can, yeah, you can have private boards as well, and you can choose who you're sharing with, so you can control it.
Exactly. And you can share out administrative duties with other people. So staff members have administrative rights on these boards.
Mm-hmm.
Don't in most
Right.
cases have, or possibly the team who would be given access. But and there are special cases. There's only 2 or 3 during the semester or year, and then when they graduate, remove the access just as you would for any other student.
Excellent. Well, Dee Dee, thank you so much. This was really interesting, and I'm so glad we got to see how you're managing the QA group of students. It's, I can imagine for myself how challenging that would be, but you've made it look really well organized, and I'm really impressed. So thanks for sharing this with us.
Hear me. I appreciate it. And if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to me via email or give me a call, and I'd be happy to answer those.
Great. Thanks, Dee Dee. And so it's lunchtime, everybody, and enjoy your lunches. And we hope to see many of you back at 1:30 for the next round of sessions. Of course, I think during lunch there's some trivia contests going on, so stay tuned for that. And we'll see you later. Thanks, Dee Dee, again.
Bye.
Bye.